So far, aren't you somewhat surprised about how this has unfolded?
I am surprised, and I'll kind of give you my take on this, that
Please.
I have seen both the prosecution and the defense try to kind of draw a completed circle in various areas, um, on extortion, on motivations for things, and they never close the loop. I've seen so many times on both sides, they just didn't close the loop where they made their point, and and it really surprised me. I mean, there's one piece of testimony that I remember where they read text where Diddy said to Cassie, "Do you want to do a freak off?" Her answer was, "I'm ovulating," and that means no intercourse, clearly. And then Diddy says, "Well, can we kiss?" And she said, "Yes." So they do a freak off, and it lasts more than 10 hours. But nobody says what happened during the freak off. Did they have intercourse? Was this a ruse to get her in? Nobody knows. And those loops were not closed throughout. But the thing I want to ask you about that,
Can I comment on that?
yeah,
Because
for sure.
I think the reason, and to some degree, it's just because of the way your mind is trained. You want to get there. You want to get to an answer. You want that. I think that a lot of times lawyers, and somebody who used to work for you a zillion years ago, a reporter, once told me this. They said, they had watched me do a cross-examination. You said it's like a cat with a ball or a mouse or kind of just flipping around. You never closed it. And I told her at the time, part of the reason for that is it's always drilled into you. Never ask a question that you don't know the answer to or think that you boxed the witness in
Right.
so that they have to answer it. And I think that there is an element of that in every trial. I know a lot of times if I think that the points that are being made are susceptible, once again, to the two reasonable interpretations. If I think that my opponent, if it's a criminal case as a prosecutor, is not going to ask that question at all, to your point, that closes the loop, I'm not going to do it. And you know why? I'm going to circle back to that in the closing statement. And I'm going to say, they could have asked. They could have said, they could have had the witness answer the question. They didn't. You know why? Because they too have reasonable doubt as to what the answer is. And that gives you, ladies and gentlemen, the reasonable doubt.